Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Knox Makers. It's Tuesday, and by tradition, we always gather on Tuesday, rain or snow, holiday or not. Tuesdays, we get together here in the classroom and invite people in the community to show off projects. Successful projects, projects that are miserable failures, projects that have stopped somewhere in between. It doesn't really matter. Wherever you're at with your project, we're thrilled to see it. And several folks have committed to showing their projects with us tonight. First among them is our friend Essel, who has 2 projects to show.
First time ever, now you make me go first.
Brother, you have to sign up somewhere in the middle of the page.
Okay. My 2 projects actually are kind of tied together. I was at the Makers show. I went up to John Dale and I said, John, has anybody ever etched a brick? He's like, no. I know anybody that's never tried it. Let's try it. So it took me, went to Lowe's, got a couple of pavers, and everything was going on. This was like the 1st of October. I didn't get in with him until one of the first Tuesdays in November. And we set up, and I'm gonna tell you all right now, John Dale, he's a whole lot faster and does stuff so fast that I was like, really? He did it, and he said, okay, what do you want on him? I said, okay. My sister she had 2 dogs that died, and she wanted to make a memorial for them. So I said, okay. So John Dale he's fast. In no time at all, he had them laid out, and we were etching them. And what we did, and so he had them laid out and everything. And I was like, golly, how did you do that so fast? He had them set up, and then I etched it. The first picture I showed you was what it was on the table. I took him home. After he got through with it, I sat there and did about an hour of doing both of them, and then took them home, cleaned them up, sanded them, and put paint in the numbers and the letters, and then sanded them a little bit more, and then put tongue on them. So this is what they look like. That was the first one. Come on. Well, I hope y'all see it. But that was the other one. And then John Dale said, I want to see what it looks like so that's what they look like in their deck area. Okay, so that was my first one to my sister. She didn't know it was coming. She just thought I was coming to Thanksgiving. Well, the other project I did was I took the bud vasing making class. That was the first 2 Saturdays in November with Doug, and I made her my Christmas present for her. She's like, oh man, she freaked out over this. I almost made her cry. She's like, you made this for me? Yeah, right, okay. So, but that was what it was. Well, in the process of doing that class, in between the 2 classes, I started thinking, what else could I do? And then I remembered Russell's presentation on burning wood. I was like, oh man, perfect. So, guess what I did? Oh, by the way, there is what hers looks like with a piece of holly in it. And then, so, all right, where'd it go? I've lost it. Oh no. Oh, I know why I've lost it. It's because I've got them right here. Okay, so Russell was kind enough to let me come to his house last Saturday. It was Wednesday. And piece of cherry. And that's what that turned out. And it's got 3 holes for that's my son's Christmas present, and he's going to put Lego flowers in it in his window. Okay, so that, and then this one is for my daughter. It's made out of oak. And the reason I did 2 of them is because when I went to Russell and said, Russell, I want to do this. Can we do this? He said, yeah. I said, how will it burn on this wood? He said, I'm not quite sure. So I had 2. I had the cherry and the oak. I said, let's just try them both. So Doug let me buy them both. And now I've got my children. There's Christmas presents for them. Okay? All right. That's my 2.
It looks like Essel's got Christmas in the bag. Next up, we've got Tracy, who has brought Lazy Lines to share.
Hi guys. I wanted to try and get back into drawing again. It's been a long time and there's a lot of excuses to not do it, and I finally reached the end of those excuses. So I wanted to warm up with some exercises that help you ease into drawing. So I thought I'd share with you one that I was working on today, which is a technique called lazy lines. And so it's pretty easy. You just put on some music you like to listen to or something and get, I'm just going to use a dry erase board because it's easier for you to see. But then you just take a marker or drawing implement and just start just a lot slower than this. Make it last like 10 minutes. And just kind of just not really think too hard about it. And just start, you know, wherever you want your pen to go, just let it go and off the page. And it's kind of meditation in a way. But eventually, I'm not going to stand here for 10 minutes, but eventually you may actually see something in your lines. I don't know if it's going to work for me this time because I'm kind of nervous. But the idea is to try and find something in your lines. And so it helps if you have an idea in your head what you're looking for. So say I wanted to look for something that's a rabbit. So maybe I would find some ears here. Maybe those are ears. And maybe there's a form here. Can you see that? Maybe there's a form here that you're seeing. What's that? You know, maybe that's a nose. It's just a way to help you free up your brain. So, and then you just erase the lines that you don't want, that don't work, or, you know, maybe you like the way it's going, maybe you don't. You just add something afterwards, and then you can take, you know, maybe if it's a shape you really like, you can take that shape and draw it somewhere else on another project if it's, you know, a style you really liked. But that's it.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Many years ago, we used to have a group at Knox Makers that were learning to draw together. There's still evidence of it up front. You may have seen it. I think it'd be really groovy if we got that going again. Next up, we've got Tiffany, who has brought mesh wreaths to share.
Hello, my name is Tiffany. I am otherwise known as Billy's wife. If there were two types of people in this world, makers and buyers, I would be the latter every single time. So deciding to make something is a completely new experience for me. So a few years ago, I saw my first mesh wreath online, and I immediately wanted to buy every one that I saw. Never occurred to me to make one. So I was browsing Facebook a couple weeks ago, and a friend said, my friend made this for me, and she had a Grinch wreath up there. And I immediately said to Billy, I want to make that. And he just kind of nonchalantly said, okay, thinking it would probably never happen. But then I decided it was going to happen. So I bought all the supplies, and I sat down to make it. It was the first time I've ever made anything in my life. So basically, it's a wreath form. You can pass that around if you want to. And mesh. So you need pipe cleaners, ribbon, and then some cute stuff to add to it. That is after you get all the mesh onto the wreath. And then from there, you basically build it up and make it pretty. There is where I've cut out all my ribbon to add to it. And you put the ribbon on with your pipe cleaners just like the mesh. So 90% of it's just pipe cleaners. And that is after I added all the ribbon to it and the finished wreath. I also have, while I was working on the Grinch wreath, I loved it so much, I started another one. So I'm going to show it to you. And then I have one here that is basically half a wreath right now. My challenge to myself was to make a wreath out of only dollar store craft supplies. Currently there's about $5 in this, and another $3.75 in the bag. So I can pass that around. It kind of shows you on the back how it's all attached with the mesh. And that's it.
This is your first wreath?
Yes.
Wow. How do you know when to stop?
Well, funny story is I love gnomes, stuffed gnomes. I love them. And so 2 wreaths that I was making as Christmas presents, I thought to myself one night, oh, they need a gnome. Gnomes make everything better. And I got the gnomes in, and neither one of them needed the gnomes. They were just, it wasn't going to add anything to them. So I have gnomes, and the wreaths are just the best the way they are. Any other questions? Okay.
We'll have the other one down on the table so you all can look at them later.
Congratulations on starting making. That's fantastic. Also, Billy's wife adores gnomes. Draw your own conclusions. Next up, we've got Daryl, who's going to show off Bryce Canyon.
Howdy. I did. I was talking to Andrew before, and I bore it from my own loins. That's what I told him, but may not be true. So Bryce Canyon, my daughter, who is 19, she and her grandmother are endeavoring to go to all the national parks in the U.S., and they did about 13 this summer. One of them was Bryce Canyon in Utah, I think. And it was kind of her favorite. I hope she doesn't decide to watch this stream because this is one of her Christmas gifts. So I've been working on stained glass, and so I decided to try to make a stained glass piece of this. Here I am. I've drawn it. I had to draw it a bunch of times to get it kind of closer to right. Obviously, I had to simplify the shapes so you got the general idea, but so that it was manageable as a piece. Here I've finished drawing it. I've color coded it a little bit. These blue bits you can ignore because you can't ignore. They exist, but they're not blue. I just use that color to set them off from others. But so this is a foot by foot piece of paper. So I use a large format printer to learn how to use that to print that. Here's just a little process photo. I use little pieces of wood to kind of square things up a little bit. So you see that on the edges here. You can see at the top, I've cut some pieces and I've washed them prior to putting foil on them, and they're just drying. Meanwhile, I've pasted paper cutouts to all the pieces I've cut, and I'm washing them. That's what it looks like to wash glass. And here everything is washed and laid out. I had to make some modifications. I simplified a few things that were just going to require teeny tiny little cuts, teeny tiny pieces of glass that the solder you wouldn't be able to see it anyway, so I simplified a few things. This is still about 50 to 55 pieces of glass. After you cut it, which is painstaking, you foil the edges. Even more painstaking. And so I did that. This is what that looks like. It's not the best photo, but that's what it looks like. I added solder. I'm not good at soldering, but it could be worse. You'll notice here, I didn't solder all the way up to the edges, and that's because I wanted to use zinc cane as a frame around it, which I'd never done before. That just gives it a nice frame and gives it some more sturdiness. This is a fairly big piece. Well, this piece with lots of small bits, it was a little bendy, if you weren't careful. So I thought putting a frame around it would help, and you don't solder all the way up to the edge. You put the frame on and then solder to attach your edges to the frame. So that's what that looks like. You slot that frame on. My soldering in the corners is terrible. So I've got to work on that. But it is reasonably square, which is a first for me. And it holds together, and it felt a lot stronger after I put the frame on. And that's kind of what it looks like. This bar over to your left side is just a window pane, a mullion or whatever. But that's what it looks like with a little bit of backlighting from outside. It could be more vibrant, but on the whole, I'm fairly satisfied with it. And I hope my daughter likes it, because to answer Russell's question proactively, I got about 22 to 25 hours of production in this. I spent probably a couple hours in drawing and a lot of time after, like washing and waxing and cleaning and all that. So it was a fairly substantial outlay of time. Yes?
Are you going to make the other 12 to round out the set?
I will not. This was just one of the most interesting looking ones, and it was her favorite, so I thought, I'll make her something. She seemed interested in, I've shown her the pieces I've made before, and she seemed interested, so I thought, well, maybe she would like one. She's old enough to, if I made one for my son, he'd be like, ugh. I think my daughter will like it. Yes?
What size did you say you
It's roughly 12 on the side, 12 inches on the side, something like that. And I didn't bring it because I'm terrified that if I touch it, it'll shatter. So, thanks.
Man, that is fantastic. And y'all are really making me feel bad about my Christmas gifts at this point. Next up, we've got Wes, who's going to show us inlays.
Hello. So I've been trying to figure out how I can color inlays a lot easier than actually using epoxy or hot glue or paint and things like that. So came to some of the groups and asked, hey, what about 3D printing pins? Would that actually work for an inlay? And the answer was probably, yeah, it just might. We have one or two stashed away in the 3D printing zone. So I broke that out and actually found out it was broken after taking it apart. So I went out and bought one myself, the same one, and it wasn't that expensive. It was about 50 bucks. So here's my testing that I have started to do. Let me show it on here. Let's see, this probably, it's not gonna zoom the way I want it to. There we go. Try to do a little bit tighter on there. Now, that part of that eagle that you can see right there, that is actually the inlay as well too. So that's just a laser cut, right? It's a laser engrave on there, and then I put that in there. Now, as I went through, you can see that O is not really sanded down a whole lot. It's kind of hard still to see, but let me zoom in. Doesn't do it justice. But basically, it doesn't adhere at all, right? So it does come off. So I figured, why not add some CA glue to it, right? And so that's what I did for some of the other letters in here. Some of them, the ones that didn't have CA glue obviously came out when I was sanding them, but the other ones stayed in just fine. So I found that to be somewhat of a success, continued on looking at things, and then designed this piece here, all right? And it's got wormwood on it, so a bunch of worms were having their feast on it over the years. This is actually a piece of reclaimed barnwood. It's pine. And so today, actually, I went in and filled this in with the same kind of ABS, I believe it's called, 3D printing material. Sanded it down, and then put a coat of pure tongue oil over it. And so just let it dry for a little bit, wiped it off, and here we go. So far it seems to be working out pretty well. I'll probably not continue on the wormwood with this because it's really difficult once you get that the hot piece of this tip from the 3D printing gun on there. With the glue and stuff like that, it does produce some good fumes that, you know, are probably not good to smell. Any questions about it so far?
Do those tend to fall out like the O on the other thing? Will that stick in there pretty good?
Oh, it's stuck in there, like 100%. I could card scrape it if I need to. I've got a sander, orbital sander I put right on it. It's not coming out. It's got the CA glue in it, so basically I just put the CA glue and just kind of bathed it in there and just stuck it on. What gets tough is once you get that glue in there, then it kind of comes out because the filament's filling up that space. But it works, and you know, it's not really, I mean, it looks fairly clean, you know, for the most part. I mean, there are some gaps and stuff like that that I went back in and cleaned up, but other than that, it's, you know, well, once you guys see it up close, it'll be a little bit better, so. Cool, thank you.
That's really interesting and innovative. I remember when you originally were talking about that, I didn't really think that was going to work. That came out really cool. Finishing out Show and Share tonight, we have, oh no, it's technical difficulties. There seems to be a problem with the internet streaming. it's a secret share, and we have reason to believe someone on the internet may be watching. Russell.
Thank you, sir. Oh, audio is okay, because I'm going to tell you about this thing that I made. You may, I'm coming back. They don't know. I made this thing. It's a thing. It's a thing. It is a gift, so I can't tell you exactly what the thing is, but do we have a 220 plug here? Yeah, I need three-phase, yes. Okay, I think that will work. So, I made this thing. You've seen me make things before. And this thing, yeah, hold this thing. Yeah, yeah, hold this thing. So you may not know what this thing is or what it does, but there are certain parts of it, if you touch it, it will do other things. For example, it will do this if you touch that. And then if you touch it again, it will do that. And if you touch it again, it does that. But when I made it, I didn't like what this thing was doing, because with all of that power, it blinds you. So if you touch this thing like this, it will do that. So you can actually experience it without harming yourself. There are other things you can do. Give me just a moment. Oh, I should have had this ready. Yeah. Sorry. I know, not very well prepared. Okay, what are these comments from the back?
Do the snakes ever get out?
No, the snakes are behind a protective cover,
Huh.
so you don't have to worry about them. But if you want to feed them, you put these things in here, so the snakes can be festive. Sorry. So if you touch that thing, nothing happens. But if you touch this thing, this happens this time of year. Ah, yeah, how about that? And so I'll put this out on the, out in arts and crafts so you can experience yourself what it does when you touch it. You may want to be wearing rubber shoes. I do provide gloves so that you won't harm yourself. And it also comes with a complimentary Buddies box. Yes. Question in the back, sir.
So the more frequently you touch the thing, the more spectacular the result, is that right?
Yes. The more you touch the thing, the more you like it, yeah. Yes, sir.
How long did it take you to train that puppy to do all those tricks?
Fret time was considerable. Training time was, I don't know, maybe, 20 hours maybe, off and on during the day and night and what have you. For the most part, it is housebroken. Yes, sir.
Where does one get this electrifying idea to come up and just, like light up your light bulbs type scenario?
I just think you can do this to virtually anything. I could do it to this. Okay, you've got a show and share coming up in a couple of weeks. And it will do double duty. We discovered tonight that if you take a box of wine and take the bag out and cut a hole in here,
You can carry your wine around with you. So, stand by. We have something coming in the future that I think you will enjoy. Okay, any other questions? All right, this will go to the proper person post haste. Thank you very much. Come on, Isaac. You can talk while I'm de-preparing.
Yeah, the thing is me and you.
Oh, yeah, I
That's
guess
a-
so.
Well, I very much enjoyed seeing your thing and its various functions.
Yes, lots of people do.
It's not the internet.
Oh. Okay.
Right. Despite the fact that the holidays are rapidly approaching and most people are ceasing to be productive in any way, we have an incredible volume of incredibly cool classes coming up, which I would like to tell you about at this time. It is Wednesday the 13th, this coming Wednesday, that we have Woodworking 102, which is the wood turning basics class. I hope that you already have your ticket because otherwise you've missed out. That one is hard to obtain, I'm afraid. Friday the 15th, we have the heat press and die sublimation authorization class, likewise sold out, super popular. Saturday, all the things are happening at Knox Makers. On Saturday from 11 until 12:30, we have an electronics class, Make a Blinking Holiday Star, which will teach you how to solder if you don't know how to do that, and it will teach you how to solder better if you do kind of know. There are still tickets available for that, so sign up if you don't yet solder well, or if you need a holiday star. Also from 1 to 4 p.m. on Saturday, MIG 101, which is the Introduction to Metalworking. You've missed out on that one. It is well sold out. Also from 1 until 4, Stitch and Bitch, which is of course open to all. So if you would like to stitch and or bitch, please be here and join the people. From 1 to 4, we also have Art Glass 101. So this is the authorization class to use the many and various stained glass facilities in arts and crafts. So if you want to make something wonderful like Daryl, then you should take that class. It's also significant because we have just recently obtained a fancy new tool for making stained glass, the ring saw, which will be part of that class. You can be the first to use it. And finally, let me mention that from 1 until 3:30, we will also be doing a blacksmithing authorization class. So virtually no matter what you're into, it's happening on Saturday here. Sunday, we've got Introduction to Electronics. There are tickets available to that. So that is a basic circuit theory, introducing you to the sort of starting points of working with electronics. There are tickets for that. Also, immediately following, going from schematics to breadboard. So if you've seen other people's electronical plans on the internet and wonder how in the world you can turn those into a real thing, you can learn right here on Sunday. Also on Sunday, the board meeting, a thing that we do every month. It is super entertaining and it happens virtually. So there'll be a link appearing in our members only chat on Sunday. Finally, let me mention that on Monday, we have a hand-cut dovetails class in the woodworking section. So if you too would like to do fine joinery, this is an excellent opportunity for you to learn to do that. All these things and more may be found at knoxmakers.org/events, our always scintillating events calendar. Other than the classes, I have a couple of other announcements to share with you. First of all, I want to remind you all that we have a funds drive going on currently in the woodworking area to finish up this monstrous CNC project. The thing is moving around in a threatening and exciting way, but it doesn't yet have a spindle. So they're asking that people dig into their sofas and give all of their change to woodworking to get spindles. And if you have questions about that project, Billy would be the person to talk to. And if Billy is not cooperative, his wife would be the person to talk to. I also would like to remind you that on Thursday, which is the 14th at 5 p.m. at Ebony and Ivory Brewing, Creative Cartography, a fantastical art show is happening. That is our very own Tracy. Tracy, the award-winning artist and cartographer, is showing her many and various artistical maps, and there's booze. So please join me in being there to harass her. That is Thursday at 5 p.m., Ebony and Ivory. In the spirit of volunteerism, as always, I need your assistance to make all these things happen. So who will assist me by exchanging the air filters for us this evening? Perhaps someone who's never changed the air filters. Yes, sold. You in the back. Thank you very much. And I think that there's probably a few trash cans that haven't yet been emptied. Will someone volunteer to empty the trash cans into the dumpster? You, sir. Thank you very much. This, my friends, concludes our program for the evening. I encourage you to go out into the workshop and do fun and exciting things, and thanks for being here.